Don't shoot the messenger.
That's right. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Shoot the Messenger. I am Chris Dickens, as always, along with my cohort,
Jinx. Just Jinx.
Yes, and I did not give you guys a real tease last week for a subject, and I apologize because we were digging deep on this one. It's very similar to what we've done before.
Yeah, but we wanted to do something fun, different, get away from the reptiles again for a bit.
Yes, so we kind of...
Chris is kind of scared now.
Jinx stumbled across a certain conspiracy theory that I actually don't believe for once.
Yeah, but I think it has a little meat to it, and I can understand why this came about. Avril Lavigne is much like Paul McCartney. She's dead.
Oh, okay. I was about to say she's not a good songwriter. She's pretty, just, poppy and
she's
a fan.
She's dead.
No, she's not. I don't believe you in this.
There's lots of, I don't want to say evidence, but I can see where people are coming from and why they would think. If you listen to her early stuff.
So evidence?
Evidence, yes. Could be. Evidence. It's circumstantial, some of it, but, But just the difference in her song styles for what she was putting out, earlier in her career compared to you fast forward to 2014, 2015 with that Hello Kitty song that is just.
Well, let's lay the base for him. When did this all come about?
So.
I believe it was 2003.
2003. That's when they're saying she committed suicide. I don't know if that was that soon, that early. That's when maybe her doppelganger started showing up.
So the whole theory is she committed suicide at the age of 18 in 2003, just after the release of her second album. And the basis of that is her grandfather had just passed and she couldn't handle it and she killed herself. And she has been replaced by her doppelganger, it is known that she did have a body double. I will say that. Melissa, I forget her last name.
You were just saying it earlier. And Chris brought this to my attention, but I think hearing this stuff, I think it's totally feasible. Especially, I'm a fan of Avril Lavigne, and there's definitely a difference between her early stuff compared to her newer stuff. There's definitely, it's a different style, especially, like I said, the Hello Kitty compared to Skater Boy and Complicated. And what the hell? It's different. You don't hear dubstep in her earlier stuff, but now, of course, it's crazy.
Well, so everyone is pretty much believing that she's killed herself and that she's doppelganger. And the basis for all of this, so all of what you believe, at least, the basis for what everyone has said is she has less freckles.
Melissa Vandella, that's the person's name.
Melissa Vandella, and the whole basis is she has less freckles on her left arm than she did before.
I don't know about that. Counting people's freckles is a way to tell a doppelganger. That just seems like you've been in the sun more one day than the other, kind of thing. But a doppelganger, it's definitely something happened to her brain to change her writing style. That's for sure. So,
something happened to her brain.
Yes, maybe things got complicated.
Don't make me say it. Don't make me say it, Jinx. Why do you have to go make things so complicated?
Because that's my job. If everything was so simple, we'd all be living in a skater boy world.
Oh, dear God. This is a very rough subject for me.
This is that's painful.
It is. No, I can't believe this whatsoever. I know, and I'm probably sounding very contradictory to all of our listeners, and the fact that I am Paul McCartney's dead, but Avril Lavigne, fuck that.
Yeah, and they're saying with the same thing with Paul McCartney. Listen to the lyrics and the newer stuff, and it's and giving you clues just like in the Paul McCartney stuff.
Yeah, but those are all written by John.
Yes, and they're saying that they were written by people after she died. Some of them they're saying were lyrics she wrote as kind of a suicide note to be used later on.
Yes, and nowadays artists have people who write for them. I mean, we don't really have artists and writers be as one. It's kind of okay, there's a bunch of writers. Every guy who wrote a Britney, there's a guy who's 40 years old who wrote every Britney Spears song. It's all started from Avril está muerte, and that means Avril is dead, if you guys don't know. And it was back in 2012. It was a Portuguese blog that state that came up with this. That's the believed origin of this conspiracy theory, and they even came out and said that it was a farce. That they didn't. That they made it all up, but it took off.
But she was interviewed, or the fake quote unquote Avril Lavigne, so the doppelganger.
Vanessa.
Yes, Melissa.
Or Melissa
Vandella. Yes. So last year she was interviewed, and they asked her right before she went to perform. They questioned her about whether or not she was the clone. They asked her this on live TV, and she ended up fumbling her entire performance after that. Like, she was so thrown off by the question.
Well, so Melissa was her doppelganger, and it was her body double. She was hired, and this is a known fact. And a lot of the theory as well is based off the fact that she was around Avril so much, because Avril hired her because she just didn't want to deal with paparazzi. She was around Avril so much she could pick up her aneurysms, habits, all that kind of stuff. I mean, and it's not that hard to fake a performance. Let's be honest. We've seen people lip sing throughout the ages. Mm-hmm. So you
but
can't
to keep producing more albums, that's where it gets this weird how this story is complicated. I did find a quote too by the guy who claims to have created this Brazilian fan site, saying that she never died, and that the theory was cooked up as an experiment to explain how, with the right information, you can make anyone on the internet believe anything. So,
because we know that if it's on the internet, it's true.
Yes, that's why you believe so many of these conspiracy theories you hear.
It's not in the Bible, so I know that's why you don't. I'm very surprised that you believe this.
Landing on the moon.
You guys
did not happen
have Avril Lavigne at your Bible camp?
She's not allowed.
Is that one, or is that one of the few approved artists?
Well, she is Canadian.
What does that have to do with anything?
People think God bless the USA, but I think right now we can agree it's Canada.
Oh,
they got Justin
Canada.
Our home and native land. Okay. Anyways,
see, there's nothing about God in there, okay? So I don't understand how
is there anything God in the Star Spangled Banner?
God.
No, everybody's humming to themselves. I don't think so. I did hear that the second verse, there's something that is not the one we sang at the stadiums, actually involves slavery in it, and that's why it was cut from the version that we sang.
I would imagine so.
But yeah.
But anyway, we digress.
Yes. Anyways,
this is one
you're off topic today. Okay.
I just can't wrap my head around this one. I know you're convinced because you listen to her new stuff apparently.
Yes, I do. I have it,
and it is like 100% different. But it
is. I've had other people listen to wow, that's way different than the Avril Lavigne I remember.
And my explanation for that is she's a growing artist. That's going to be you change styles. I mean, look at how many Bring it back to Paul and the Beatles. Look how many times the Beatles changed styles.
Yes, and reinvented themselves.
And it's her just trying to stay relevant, I guess you will, because you can't be that emo skater boy type of...
Yeah, what works when you're 16 isn't going to work when you're 30.
So I'm just totally debunking your whole conspiracy theory here.
I'm playing devil's advocate and just saying that it could be possible. I mean, I can understand why people would believe it, with the facts that they're presenting. I can understand, just like some flat earthers will believe it.
I was about to call you a flat earther.
No, I was saying just like some of those people, there's going to be some people that will buy into this because it's not totally ludicrous like the Paul McCartney stuff.
Paul McCartney's not ludicrous. I could back that all up with different things.
Well, that's what they're claiming with Avril. They claim the song lyrics about her
covers or anything like that. Reverse messages, any of that stuff. It's all.
And here's the thing I have with the reverse messages and album covers. If you're trying to cover up somebody dying or being dead, why would you keep putting clues to it? You want to get caught or found out or whatever.
Well, for the Paul McCartney thing?
Yes, or Avril Lavigne, either.
The Paul McCartney thing is they did it because the government told them they couldn't tell people about it. So the Beatles did it in secret.
The government being the U.S. government or the British?
Government.
And why did the British government not?
Because they were afraid of a mass suicide. We've gone over this.
Yes. I'm doing this as a refresher for our listeners who may not have listened to that.
Well, they should have listened.
You
should go back and listen to the Paul one for sure.
That's our first episode.
So here's a quote from one of her songs that people are believing that this is one of her suicide notes. Is she wants to go home, but nobody's home. It's where she lies, broken inside, with no place to go to dry her eyes, broken inside. That's from the song Nobody's Home. And it also says she's fallen from grace, she's all over the place. That's another one. I mean, it's a song lyric.
But it does, it sounds like stuff that she would write. She's got more complicated poetry and stuff, But why would people...
bringing up that word.
It's hard to talk about Avril Lavigne without getting all complicated.
I got to go home to my quarry after this. Talk to the rocks about how you were just aggravating me today.
Beat your head against a few of them.
I might.
In the futility of conversations with me.
Anyway, yes. So yeah, she died.
Just like the trolls.
So our little recap. She died in 2003.
Supposedly. Allegedly.
Hung herself in her home after her grandfather died just after the release of her second album. Replaced by Melissa
Vandella.
Based on the fact that she has less freckles. And
I think that doesn't hold water.
I'm putting it out there. Don't you come at me. I'm putting it out there. She got less freckles on her left arm than she did when she was 18.
Who are these people counting freckles?
I don't know. People count weird things. I was looking at pictures of they cut her face from then to now. I mean, okay,
yeah,
I could see
there's
something.
some differences. Makeup, hairstyles, you can change cause
plastic surgery.
Yeah,
all of that.
Growing up,
yeah. So my whole thing with that is, I mean, there's also song lyrics that are supposedly all that, but I'm a hard no. I think you're a soft yes.
Yeah, I think I'm just, like I said, playing devil's advocate.
You're a soft
yes. Possibility soft. Yeah,
I'm a hard no.
And there's the whole thing with dang it, I lost my train of thought. Okay, what was I gonna say? I can't remember. I guess it wasn't important. Possibly.
I guess it wasn't that. Well, usually what you say isn't that important. So
I know. I was going to say this person from the site that started this whole thing probably heard about the Paul McCartney theory and said, hey, how can I make this more modern and use a modern artist and flip it? And did it successfully. And I think successfully proves that your theory on Paul McCartney doesn't hold it.
All right.
Amounts to a hill of beans.
Don't even start with that. We'll get into
just full of holes.
When we get off air, we're going to have a talk. All right. Well, we are running out of time. As always, I'm Chris Jinx alongside
Jinx.
Next week will be our final episode of this season. We're going to take a little month hiatus, and we'll come back with season 2, bigger, better. Give it a little more time for research. Going to have
find some more conspiracy theories that are more fun.
And I think next week we'll talk Martin Luther King.
Yes, that sounds very interesting.
Do a little research yourself if you're listening. We're going to talk Martin Luther King conspiracy theories.
Get ready to chime in with your comments.
Yeah, as always, don't shoot us.
We're just the messengers.
Keep your eyes open.
And don't believe everything you hear.